We've seen significant losses in quail and quail habitat. I do think there's real urgency around us taking this step now.
Either we're going to save bobwhite quail on these landscapes or we're not. And anyone that cares about conservation, anyone that cares about grasslands, anyone that cares about northern bobwhite, this is it. We need to get going.
So we had a really exciting announcement, which was $13 million for this Bobwhite Quail initiative, where we're going to work with landowners, conservation groups. Pheasants Forever is going to be, and Quail Forever are going to be really important partners as we put this on the ground to pay for conservation practices that are going to benefit wild quail.
There's a really strong science foundation under what we're doing, and every piece of the science foundation is new. And that's part of what's so exciting about all of this. For the first time ever, we have a national monitoring protocol that can be used in all 25 participating states that do bobwhite conservation funded by NRCS. And then we can have staff targeting those areas and offering conservation approaches, conservation practices to those producers that might in fact be more economically beneficial to that ag operation, and also conserve bobwhite and the other wildlife species that are with them.
If we can manage for quail using prescribed fire, forest restoration, grassland restoration, it's not just going to benefit quail, it's going to benefit a whole suite of species. So there's opportunity to build public support for the work we're doing.
We're sitting on a family property that we acquired about 10 years ago. We knew that we wanted to make some changes out here, and we were looking to try to blend timber management and recreational into one property. You know, we started out with a real mature loblolly pine stand here that didn't have a lot of what we're seeing out here now. It didn't have any early successional. All the understory was 15 foot high, and then once we got it down to a manageable level, we were able to run some fire through here and kind of continue to knock back the overstory and bring it down to a lower level.
Quail basically need 4 components. They need grasses for nesting, they need shrubs for escape and loafing cover, and they need forbs. That's going to be their insect brooding habitat, and also the seed source in the winter and fall. And that last component is your bare ground. But bare ground is basically the corridors they need to get around through the habitat.
Yeah, I was a little more skeptical. But over time, I began to see how this works and begin to see a plan that's implementable. You know, you've got partners that can help. There's some cost share funds available to help take some of the burden off. So it's certainly achievable. There's numerous programs, from pollinator projects, planting trees for wildlife, prescribed burning is a big one. Herbicide work is another big program that can save you significant dollars in those areas.
With Georgia being about 95% privately owned, we cannot conserve wildlife or resources moving forward on just our public lands. So through the years, we've seen a lot of landowners that have been successful in utilizing cost share programs, whether it's Farm Bill or some state programs. So a few years ago, we entered into an agreement with Quail Forever, which allows us to expand our reach to help facilitate them doing habitat management on their property to meet whatever their management goals are, whether it's bobwhite quail, white-tailed deer, non-game species, or any of those. So we provide technical assistance to those landowners, help them enroll into cost share programs, and provide them with that information that they need.
We have definitely benefited though, and you know, $1 saved through a herbicide program allows you to take that dollar and put something else into the property. So I think in the southeast you can definitely have, it's not an either or, I think you can have both, and that's what we're doing here.
So this is going to be your sedge, indicative of wet areas, but that's got that triangular stem.
Yes,
Sedges have edges.
yes.
So
Yeah.
it'll be growing up in wet areas.
He's very good and knowledgeable on this stuff.
As a Quail Forever biologist, I have the opportunity to meet private landowners when they have wildlife-specific ideas that they want implemented on their farm. They have a dream, an idea, a goal, and so they will contact me, and that allows me to go out there and meet with them to find out what their goals are.
Our farm was 425 acres. It was a cattle farm. And in the middle 80s, the price of land got pretty high, so my dad, we sold the farm. Well, in about 5 years, it went from a cattle farm to row crop, and there went the habitat for the quail. So when we got it back, we got it all in CRP, and we've had it in CRP ever since.
You can absolutely see the difference too in the bare ground components in the field that you burnt versus this one that you have scheduled for this late summer, fall. You know, when you think of a quail chick, you know, being just, you know, the size of the top of your thumb or the size of a bumblebee, I mean, it's really hard for them to get around in that. But by setting that back and managing the fields properly and adequately, I mean, it's going to give them a good place to live for sure.
You know, finding those early adopters or those folks that are willing to step out of their comfort zone, it really shows that turning point and really shows that shift in thinking along the lines of natural resource conservation.
Now we've got pollinators, you know, we've got wildflowers, we've got food plots, we've got the edge feathers, and we have just made a wonderful home for them, you know, and it's showing up, it's working.
When I think about the future of quail conservation, upland wildlife conservation, I think we've only just begun. You know, we're getting back to those days where you're hearing 15, 20 plus coveys in October when you're doing fall covey surveys. By incorporating more prescribed fire, incorporating that woody escape cover with that edge feather and those down tree structures, that's going to continue to benefit quail. And we're seeing reports of up to a bird per acre on some of the studies that we're doing, which is tremendous.
As far as I know, there was 0 quail on this tract when we bought it, and today we're seeing some quail. And I think when you see that happening, you can't help but take a lot of pride in that, and you know that your hard work's starting to pay off, because quail aren't going to go where they can't make it.
You can hear the bobwhite whistle out here outside our yard in our CRP field. It's music to my ear, is what it is.
I think more and more Americans realize that private working lands have a vital role to play in conservation. You know, we tend to think about big game species on the public lands out west, and that's obviously really, really important. But so much of our wildlife is dependent on working lands and the actions of farmers, ranchers, forest owners.
It's going to take all of us, is what it boils down to. It's going to take resource professionals, it's going to take landowners, it's going to take their children, and make sure that we're raising that next generation of conservationists the right way.
We need you to step forward, and you can do something small that might have much more benefit than you would ever realize.
You know, we're not here on this earth a real long time, and you know, when you start hitting the age I'm at, you want to say, well, what am I going to do to leave a mark on this place better than I found it?